Hi guys, welcome once again to the Horton's Talk. It's great to be back with you. We're looking at the second part of the series that we started on stress. And today we're going to be talking about overcoming stress, identifying stress within our lives and what gets us stressful, and coming to a place of what suits us personally and our personality to overcome stress. One of the things that highlighted this topic on stress, not only as a big topic, you only have to go on Google, Facebook, wherever, you can see that people are so stressful. We're on a panel this week at our granddaughter's school for grandparents, and the questions that the younger generation, grade 3, were wanting to ask us about what it was like in our day. Made us feel very old, but so one of the questions that was asked by this child was which generation, our generation as children in grade 3, as to a grade 3 of today, which did we feel was a better generation to live in, and I said I was the first one to answer, and certainly it would be when we were children, because things were so much more simple. And one of the greatest pressures and stress that comes into our lives is that we are doing so much today.
Oh, for sure.
Back in our childhood, there was only one of us at whichever different time working, not both of us out at doing 40 hours every week.
For sure. I mean, even when our children were raised, we had still in Australia the privilege of me being at home for 8 to 9 years, because we had 4 under 5. Whereas we've now got 4 beautiful daughters, and they don't have that privilege, do they? Like, they're all at work, and it's just astounding. And it was interesting that we left there and went out and had some coffee, and we talked about that question quite a bit, because they've got far more access to education, they've got far more access to things we didn't have. We almost seemed dumb at their age in comparison, although I hate that word. But what we came down to was that it was the brilliance of the simplicity of life and the ability to shut off that created that real stress-free, happy childhood. And they don't have that, do they?
No,
not at all.
No. So it's definitely about having time out. You know, like one of the first questions, if you're feeling stressed or anxious about different things that are going on in your life, is that what has got you to that point?
Yeah.
And every day we should spend 5 minutes just clarifying some of the things that are in our lives and coming to a place of simplifying what our lives are about.
For sure.
And things simply like, you know, with some of the relationships that we have with people, do they bring, you know, clarity into our lives, or just more stress?
Yeah, for sure.
You know, like with the children and the shopping and schooling and the finances of getting all that through in any one given day is enough to make anybody stressful. But you've got to come to a place, it's being able to say to yourself, how can I simplify each given day so that you're not getting to the end of the day and needing to have a glass of wine just to de-stress.
Yeah. And I think that that's the truth. And I think that in this culture of ours in Australia, we see a lot of men drinking. We see a lot of men stopping at the pub. But in actual fact, we have nothing in our culture to let them de-stress other than that. Because you can't, most of them live in apartments now. They don't have their own 1/4 acre or 1 acre section. They don't go home to build anything. They don't go home to de-stress by using their hands. And I'm, you know, we've talked a lot about this, and we've started to implement it and teach it to the kids, even as they're adults with their own children. But I think you need to have this cycle where every 7, 14 or 21 days you just take a holiday. And even if it's 1 day or 2 day holiday. And we've talked often about the joy and the benefits of it being like a camping, farming situation. And interestingly enough, we've spoken to some people recently about it, and they all stress at the idea of turning off their phones. Because you see, the beauty of camping is you get back to basics. You can't hear the city, you can't hear the noise, you can't touch, you turn your phone off, even if you do it for one day. There's a lot of places now where you can go for a farm type experience, or just head to the beach, leave the phones in the glove box and just get your feet grounded in that beautiful earthy wet sand, and just spend time with the kids and just relax. Let your husband get out on the surf, let him set up the caravan, like all that stuff is so important. And I think we've really lost that in our culture.
Definitely. And a lot of you, even the thought of mentioning camping probably would turn you off. There's a lot of people that hate camping. There's a lot of other things you can do, but the reality, if you go and stay at a hotel or you go somewhere where, again, there's Wi-Fi, we take our devices with us, and the kids do as well, and so there's not necessarily that time of de-stressing or playing cards or board games and all of the stuff that we more used to do in our childhood generation, because there wasn't the devices there to do it.
And I think because we're talking about de-stressing, you have to take a moment that creates a lack of stress for you. So going to a hotel where you're putting your credit card up for all the room charges, that has a follow-on stress for most people. We watch our friends save all year to go to Bali for 2 weeks at Christmas, and they're in the middle of cities, and they're never de-stressing. So go to a farm, go for a walk, go for a drive, do whatever it is, but just turn off the TV, turn off the phones, and just let yourself be present. Just really be present in whatever form you want, because that actually has a huge health benefit in enabling you to think and to hear and to be clear. Yeah,
definitely. One of the other key ones for many of us, and this goes for both of us, even though we're two totally different personalities, and that is the art of learning and getting comfortable with being able to say no.
Ouch. Paul's not very good at that.
Because some of our personalities can be that, we've got people ringing us up all the time, texting, messaging, saying this, saying that. Can you help us here? Can you do this? Can you do that? And often we feel like we can't say no.
Yeah, that's true.
And so therefore, even in being able to try making life more simpler, or trying to declutter our lives, where we may end up trying to declutter in one area, but we're just picking it up again in another. And so it's identifying what it is for our personality, identifying those things that cause us to get into stress because we can't say no, taking on so much more than what we should be doing anyway, purely with a good heart of wanting to help other people.
Yeah. And I think that's predominantly around work and business for a lot of people, where they can't say no, and that creates a huge stress for them. But like you said, if they don't learn to actually pick and choose that, I know I came to Paul just recently because I wrote a book, as you all know, and it took off globally, and so the offers started coming in, and I literally could have travelled for 12 months. And so I said to him, what do we say yes to, what do we say no to? Because the reality was we still had a life here, a business here that was functioning well, and a family. And we have a large family, 4 beautiful daughters, all married, and 9 grandkids. And so we talked about it, and we decided we'd do this one, we wouldn't do that one. We'd do this one, we wouldn't do that one. But the pressure I felt in having to say no to some of those, and and then you have people saying to you, well, you're not going to build your business very fast doing that. But it's actually all a myth. It's just a myth, because here's what I believe, and I think that if we can ground ourselves with this understanding, no matter what our nature, and you're very good at this, is that we have a life that's intended for us. And if we stop and think and follow our hearts, we can never end up in the wrong spot.
No.
Can we? And and those decisions you've helped me to make, and those times that you've helped me to say no, are really great. And so there's sort of a joke in the family now that the only time I don't have to think about saying no is the grandkids. Everything else I have to think about it, but whether I say yes or no. But
And so part of that is getting perspective to your life.
That's true, yeah.
So
Good
focusing in on what values we have, because what values in life we have bring perspective to us.
That's true.
And that helps us then to be able to say yes or no.
Yeah.
So bringing perspective into our lives of this is who I am, this is what I do, this is either the amount of spare time, if we have got spare time, that we can put to whatever subjects and projects and all those other things. But one of the things I want to leave you with, which I believe is one of the greatest keys to overcoming stress, and sometimes we don't even like hearing the word, but it's meditation.
Yeah.
Because if you actually are somebody who is a real goer, your life is full, to be able to stop and clear your mind and smell the flowers, take time out is so challenging. I've been doing it just of late, of just taking some time out, and because I'm somebody who likes to be busy even if I don't need to be busy, because I like just being busy and doing stuff, but to begin to meditate, and whatever meditation looks to you, as far as whether it is sitting on the beach with your legs crossed, or whether
sitting in
it's
the surf, straddling a surfboard,
or whether it's prayer, or whatever it is that you can do to bring meditation into your life. And that's one of the challenges we just want to leave with you today, that whatever that looks like for you,
for sure,
meditation is one of the greatest keys to leveling you out, to just bringing yourself back to a central place that is going to help you level your life out, understand what you say yes and no to, and just get into that place of simplifying your life.
For sure. And we have a son-in-law, and one of his ways is to build model cars, because he's a bit of a rev head, and he takes that time. But what that moment does always for him is it centers all of his attention to one spot. And you know, the most important thing to always remember is that we all need some form of that, because the urgent is not always the important. And if you can't decide between the two, you will be stressed all your life. We love you.
Thanks, guys.